Hey everybody, Casey here with Life Abstract Gaming, and this week is all about the long-awaited sequel to one of the most polarizing new IPs of this console generation, Destiny 2. I've talked about the Destiny franchise in these videos in the past, so I won't retread too much about the game's history, but feel free to check those earlier videos out if you're at all unfamiliar with this game. Destiny 2 starts off by putting storytelling and cinematics front and center, which are one of the biggest complaints from players of the first game. Oftentimes, missions seem to lack context, and the voices talking to you over the radio tended to be drowned out over gunfire and explosions on your way from point A to point B in Destiny 1. Destiny 2 doesn't throw out the entire structure of those story missions, though they instead break them apart with high-quality cinematics and interesting characters. The addition of these cinematics make you pay more attention to what's actually happening while you blast through enemies. It's not perfect, I can still find myself tuning out the details of what boss I'm hunting and why, but the overall objective is clear, and I do know what bad guy I'm fighting my way to at the end. Dominus Gaul is the main antagonist of Destiny 2. As the commander of the Cabal's elite Red Legion forces, he takes Earth completely by surprise and manages to trap the Traveler's light, separating all Guardians from their powers and most importantly, their ability to be resurrected. I thought it was cool to highlight the fact that respawning in the Destiny universe is actually built into the world's lore. Destiny 2 didn't add this, it's always been the case since the first game, but details like this could easily be missed with how the lore was handled then. I'm just happy to see more of it come to the light, no pun intended, but I do think it would have been a nice touch to have any death prior to that first mission where you regain resurrection make you start the game over from the beginning. I definitely see how that could be annoying because I totally died jumping off a ledge before then.
Yeah, so you're like right behind me.
Oh!
Trying to see if I can. What happened?
I tried to make a jump and did not make it.
But it's not so difficult and lengthy that I don't think the gain from being story relevant wouldn't be worth it. If I had any real complaints about the main story, is that the events at first seem world-changing, but honestly, it doesn't really move any of the Destiny lore forward in a meaningful way. You could think of it as an anime movie that fits well within the regular show's timeline. Everything makes sense in the moment, but it would also make sense if none of it had ever happened. I guess I'm just waiting on any truly big and significant answers to questions we've had from the start. The other improvements to the mission structure is actually something that's been improved upon across all game activities wholesale. Instead of just mowing down waves of enemies, which there is a lot of, you'll often have little tasks you'll need to complete that test either your platforming ability or your awareness of the surroundings, among other things. Similar to the raids and a lot of later Destiny 1 content, you'll get interesting objectives or challenges that add much needed variety to the shooting, not that the shooting doesn't hold its own. The shooting mechanics have always been Destiny's strongest aspect. Not too much has changed, but I can say it just feels noticeably more smooth to move around, glide, and jump. The addition of a Halo 5-esque mantle that lets you climb up to ledges you don't quite make it to was much needed, but I do wish it worked more consistently. A lot of the times I felt like I should have mantled and didn't. The other changes regarding weapons, gear, and class abilities are only slightly more substantial. There are additions to the weapon types like submachine guns and grenade launchers, and the removal of gear types like the artifact and ghosts, which has been returned to a purely cosmetic and perk-granting item. The change to the way shaders are used did rub me the wrong way at first glance since they're now consumables that bind to specific gear. It seems sort of like a way to push people towards the in-game real money store Eververse to buy new ones, but I think I've come around to the new system. Rather than a shader that paints your whole outfit, you're actually free to color your stuff individually. You just have to be sure you want to hold on to the gear that you're going to use the shaders you like on. The shaders even go much further than just your armor. Now you're able to apply them to your weapons, your spaceship, your ghosts, and even your sparrow. The grind from base level 1 to 20 is mostly painless, as the much improved story mode will likely get you there upon completion with very minimal backtracking. The endgame tweaks, however, are probably my most welcome changes. You can literally do any activity you want, from multiplayer Crucible to wandering aimlessly on one of the open world planets. It doesn't really matter what it is, you'll gain tokens to trade back to that activity's representative to go towards rewards, and for the most part, I always felt rewarded. I was able to steadily increase my light level as long as I put in time, which wasn't always the case in Destiny 1. I do know that options will dwindle once I reach the higher light levels, but from what I can tell, there's still a little variety even at the top, instead of having to put all of my hopes and dreams into raids and exotic drops to finally reach max light. Destiny 2 is by all accounts the definition of a sequel done right. Almost every complaint and criticism lobbed against the first game was addressed in some way here, and mostly for the better. The gameplay cycle of fighting monsters and getting loot to get stronger and fight stronger monsters is as addictive as it ever was in the first game. I'd argue even more so with the improvements to the way missions and rewards are handled, making the process far less painful than it used to be. Bungie always had a strong world and strong mechanics, but fumbled in getting those things to the forefront with the first game. With Destiny 2, they didn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. They just changed the water and made sure their baby was clean. So, are any of you playing Destiny 2? What do you think of its main story? Is there anything you think is still missing from the sequel? Let us know. We're listening.